If you're watching along live, you will have just seen the video there of the Tahr protest from hunters last week. The Tahr cull has proceeded onwards into our national parks despite a High Court injunction. So what's next in saving the animals from government slaughter, and how is Crown pastoral lease properties protected, or are they next? Joining us to discuss this is New Zealand Tahr Foundation spokesman Willie Duley. Willie, it's a full-on time for you as a new father, and then you've had all of this going on as well. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little jaded. It's been an interesting few weeks coming to grips with fatherhood, and we missed all our natal classes because of COVID, so we're sort of winging it, you know. But hey, it's going good, and I think we're 3 weeks in now, and every week is getting better, and we're getting a bit more sleep. But Ash, my partner, and I, we're doing shift work. She kind of does, you know, the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and then I do the 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. stint, and then get stuck into some work during the day. So it's been pretty full on, along with this Tahr stuff. So,
so where are we at as of Wednesday, the 29th?
Yeah, good question. I guess we don't exactly know. So I think since we last spoke, us, the Tahr Foundation, ended up taking the Department of Conservation to court. As you just mentioned, we won that on one of our grounds, which the judge ruled DOC didn't consult properly. I think last time we talked about their sham of a consultation process. It doesn't seem like government departments have to consult with all stakeholders in 2020. But unfortunately, although the judge ruled they didn't consult properly, he said in the meantime, you can still go and do half your control hours, which is 125 hours, which, you know, when they're shooting 30 tahr an hour, you do the math, that's a lot of dead tahr rotting on the hillside. And he also said, put no restriction on that. They could go and do it anywhere. And that a big thing for us was that we didn't want them shooting bulls in the national parks, because that's such an essential place for not only the thousands of recreational hunters that go in there and hunt bulls, you know, the bull tahr, the other incentive for the rec guys to get in there, but it's also huge for the commercial guided hunting industry who take many bulls from there. So the really frustrating thing was, you know, that court case went ahead. We then reached out to DOC and said, hey, we know you're allowed to go and do half the hours. Please come and consult, and we'll work out a plan that reduces conflict, because there's a lot of things we agree on, and that's, you know, go stop this feral range of tahr. So outside their feral range, you know, they spread in a few areas, and we said, you know, go and spend some hours there, or work with us and we'll identify, you know, pockets of where there are too many nannies and juveniles, go and do some hours there. But they refused to consult, and they went straight into the national parks, and they've been shooting bulls non-stop for the last couple of weeks. So, you know, it's just sticking it to us hunters and a major kick in the guts.
I actually have just got a real pit in my tummy around, you know, helicopter safety. If they are so under the pump with the shortened amount of hours to get as much as possible, is there any assurance that, you know, everybody's going to be well looked after and not push it too much?
Well, I mean, yeah, we can't speak for the operators, but I mean, the frustrating thing is DOC never told anyone where and when they were doing this culling. They went straight in there. We've had reports from numerous guys, you know, they've spent thousands of dollars, come down from the North Island, they've gone into these places in the West Coast, they've flown in with James Scott, and they wake up one morning outside their hut, and there's helicopters blowing bull tahr off the hillside all around them, you know, within a K from the hut. And, you know, there's a lot of snow now. Those bulls are setting off, the dead animals are setting off wet slide avalanches.
Jesus.
There's shooting happening all around people. It's a huge health and safety risk. And the fact the government, the department, DOC didn't give anyone a heads up. They only told the local operators, you know, the night before, hey, we're going to be shooting tomorrow. There's been hunters in there for days. No one had any idea where and when this was happening. It's just crazy that they can go ahead and do that.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm really shocked to hear that, because, you know, all it's going to take is one death. But, you know, we're just currently having interviews on Sarah's Country all the time around, you know, environment versus people and this current coalition. And so, therefore, what's the next step with the High Court?
So, well, at the moment, the High Court has had its say, and it said, DOC, you need to consult with that second lot of 125 hours. So we're currently in the stage where we will be having another Tahr liaison group meeting over the coming weeks. We don't know exactly when. We don't know how that will go. But I guess that's the frustrating thing, is DOC is not keeping us in the loop. They're saying for safety reasons for the operators, they can't tell anyone where and what's happening. So we have no idea. We're the highest user of the parks, and we have no idea what's happening. We know legally they can finish their 125 hours, and they have to get back around the table with us for that remainder 125 hours. We'll try get a sensible outcome. Again, we'll try get them to do the science. The main issue that exists here is there's no science. They don't know how many tahr there are. We don't know how many tahr there are. How many tahr is an acceptable number? No one knows. They've never done the science. They've never done the job of the Himalayan Tahr Control Plan. That it laid some really good groundwork. It said, figure out that magic number, which is how many tahr can our Southern Alps hold before there's an unacceptable level of browse. Again, it's not a rocket science thing. We just need to press pause. We've probably got the lowest population of tahr we've had in years. They've just shot 18,000 tahr in the last 3 years. So there's no conservation imperative for this. Again, it's just that Minister of Conservation, has a pet hate against tahr. She doesn't like us as hunters. And the frustrating thing is, she's in that position of power. She's the Minister of Conservation. She needs to sit down, take into account everyone's views, and work out, a compromise, a middle ground. Even if that, we accept we're going to have a lowly populated herd of tahr going forward. We accept that. We want to work towards that. But she's never sat down and said, hey guys, this is where we need to get to. How can we collectively get there? How can we minimize the impact on your industries, on your livelihood? She's never asked us, how will this affect you? She just, grandstands saying, oh, there'll be plenty of tahr left over. Meanwhile, she has no idea, they've never set a limit on what they're going to shoot. They're just shooting until they run out of hours. They have no idea how it's going to affect us. She's never asked us. So that's the frustrating thing here, is there's so much common ground. If she would just get around the table and actually, constructively work with us. So pretty frustrating. And tahr are really just a start. It's pretty frightening what's coming all around the country.
Yeah, and there's the Conservation Minister, Eugenie Sage, that you're speaking about. She said here to Neil Wallace on Farmers Weekly. Neil Wallace has been doing some excellent articles in full-length detail. You can check it out on farmersweekly.co.nz. In speaking to Neil, that the herd's not going to be eradicated, and it has downplayed the economic significance of tahr hunting, saying an average of 65 trophy animals a year have been shot on conservation land for each of the last 5 years.
Yeah, which is an absolute lie. Thousands of tahr hunters head into those hills every year. The commercial hunting industry, take hundreds of bull tahr. Each bull tahr has shown that it injects $14,000 worth alone into the local economy. We're post-COVID. That it's pretty frustrating. All we want to deal with is facts, with science, and work out, an adaptive management plan going forward. Let's actually put a plan in place rather than this willy-nilly boom and bust, agendas of the day. And when they tell so many, the blatant lies like that, misleading the general public who don't have skin in the game, it's really frustrating. All we want to do is work with them.
And what about this? Is this a lie that the police are investigating hunters' threats to DOC staff?
Again, obviously, right through this process, we've told hunters, you need to, I guess, play the bull, not the person. And we've told everyone, keep it clean. And, all we've seen is people being really well behaved. We organised the Tahr protest. There's over 1,000 people there. Everyone was totally respectful. We've always said, DOC, and the helicopter operators, they're just doing a job. It's coming from Minister Sage. She's the one that's having these people do dirty work. So, we haven't seen any threats. We're not aware of any threats. DOC's never provided us with evidence of any threats. But again, when they marginalise, the hunting community, there's 166,000 people who go hunting every year. It's a big group of people. And when they don't, hear our voices, when they don't work with us, someone probably will say something silly. But even myself, on the other end of the spectrum, I've had, derogatory comments from Green members and conservationists, all through this process. So, again, it's unacceptable if anyone's making threats, and it completely undoes our cause. We're trying to work constructively, get round the table. So again, in any group, there's always a small vocal minority who might say something silly, and we don't support that at all. But again, it does seem like it's probably more of a kind of a political grandstanding thing. And again, there's so many, things. If they work with us, if they told us where they're working, there'll be a lot less upset people. So again, there's a much better way of doing this. And
interesting that Alpine Helicopters in Wanaka have decided to withdraw their support of flying in this operation as opposed to any operation that seeks extermination. It's a tricky one, isn't it, Willie, because knowing a couple of the other helicopter operators as well that are involved, they've been hit hard with tourism, and this is a good source of a check over the winter period. So, I mean, being respectful to those pilots and those companies as well.
Yeah, totally. We get it's a hard position. I mean, we'd hope the operators would see the long-term game, which is, a lot of these same people are doing the culling. They fly in heaps of tahr hunting guys. They do a lot of heli hunting, AATH. So we'd hope they'd see the long-term game. Again, it's a hard position. We're all struggling post-COVID. So it would be hard to turn down. Again, it's not their fault. They're just doing a job, and if they weren't doing it, someone else would. And I guess their argument is they're saying, hey, we actually have an incentive to look after this tahr herd, so you better us hit doing it than someone to come down from the North Island who has no interest in tahr and is going to shoot every single last one. So again, it's a tough one. I know there's a lot of angry people who are going to never use these helicopter operators again, who have gone in and culled bulls in national parks, and that's their own personal choice, and you can't blame them for that. So again, if these guys want to take the work, they've got to expect that there'll be a few people who will be a little upset and won't be using them. But again, we've really told everyone, don't take it out on operators, don't take it out on doc. They're just doing their job. All this lies with Minister Sage, sticking it to hunters. She hates introduced animals, and she's not prepared to work out a rational, common sense plan.
Yeah, absolutely. She hates introduced animals, and then she's moving further down the hill. Next is sheep, beef, and humans. And we'll be following through on this very closely next week, talking to Philip Todd-Hunter from Lake Heron Station, but also the chair of the High Country Catchment Group. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Willie.
This is Sarah's Country.